like Bria Hartley just got instant karma, bro. She out for the season.
Did karma just clap back in the WNBA? One moment, Bria Hartley was grinning as her opponent crumbled on the court. Days later, she was the one ruled out for the season. Coincidence, or the kind of poetic twist fans live for? Because what started as a single screenshot, one smirk caught in 4K, spiraled into outrage, receipts, and a trial by internet that might reshape how the league is viewed. And the twist that followed, that's where things get complicated. The arena didn't fall silent all at once. It was more like a wave. Chatter cut short, cheers choked off, and then that hollow hush that tells everyone in the building something isn't right. Sophie Cunningham was on the floor, clutching her knee, and you didn't need a slow-motion replay to see it was bad. The way her body stiffened, the way trainers sprinted before the whistle even finished blowing, it wasn't theater. It was pain, plain and undeniable. Fans describe moments like this as a gut punch. 1 second, it's just basketball. The next, you're staring at a season that might have ended in the space of a single awkward landing. No flopping, no exaggeration, just raw, frightening silence. And then, in the background of that silence, came the image that would explode across social media. Bria Hartley, a grin, or was it? Some called it a smirk, others a laugh. Maybe it was nothing more than bad timing. But in that frame, at that exact moment, it looked like she was smiling while her opponent limped off the court in tears. Was it misread body language, a nervous reaction, or proof that Hartley had crossed from competitor into villain? Nobody could agree, but the internet doesn't wait for nuance. Within minutes, the screenshot was everywhere, and once people saw it, they couldn't unsee it. Because here's the thing, one image can't prove intent, but it can rewrite a reputation. And that's exactly what happened next. The smirk didn't stay in the background for long. By the time fans clipped it, time-stamped it, and threw it onto social media, the story had already outgrown the injury itself. That single frame of Bria Hartley's face spread faster than any official update could. She's smiling while Sophie's in agony. 0:27 mark, proof right there. One fan posted. Another didn't bother with subtlety. That smirk sealed it for me. Karma's coming. It was the kind of image that doesn't just spark a debate, it pours gasoline on one. Suddenly, Hartley wasn't just another player caught in a collision. She was the villain, the symbol of everything fans already hated about reckless play. And here's the cruel truth. Pictures don't prove intent, but they do cement perception. And once perception takes hold, it spreads like wildfire. Some fans try to play peacemaker. She's friends with Sophie. Don't read into it. They argued, but their voices were drowned out by the roar of outrage. For every calm defense, there were 10 furious comments demanding accountability, punishment, even bans. And that's when the receipts started pouring in. Old clips, hard fouls, the infamous hair grab, all dragged back into the spotlight to prove a point. This wasn't just one bad look. To Hartley's critics, it was a pattern. But here's the twist that made the story even more volatile. Sophie herself stepped in, calling Hartley a friend, and insisting she didn't believe it was intentional. Instead of cooling the fire that only deepened the divide. Was Sophie being gracious or naive? Because once the internet decides someone is guilty, even a victim's forgiveness doesn't erase the smirk. And the backlash was only just beginning. The internet doesn't just argue, it digs. And once Bria Hartley's smirk became the face of outrage, fans went hunting for proof that this wasn't an accident at all. What they found was a reel of receipts. Clips resurfaced of Hartley's most controversial moments. The hair grab that still sparks debates in comment sections, the shove against Caitlin Clark that critics called the dirtiest combo of the season, and countless collisions that seemed to toe the line between aggressive and reckless. One fan put it bluntly, if it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, it's a duck. She's the dirtiest player in the league.
Making all kind of excuses to say that Bria Hartley is not a dirty player.
Of course, not everyone agreed. Some argued other players were just as physical, even worse. Carrington's name came up, so did McBride. But when fans are angry, comparisons don't matter. The narrative had already taken shape. Hartley wasn't just tough, she was dangerous. That's the problem with patterns.
Sophie Cunningham, let's be clear here. Sophie Cunningham was targeted. Let's be very, very clear here.
Once people believe they see one, every play looks like confirmation. Every hard foul becomes evidence. Every smirk, laugh, or shrug becomes proof. And suddenly, Hartley wasn't being judged by referees. She was being judged by a jury of millions with Twitter accounts. But here's where the story took an even sharper turn. For angry fans, the past wasn't enough. They wanted consequences in the present. And that meant the conversation shifted from highlight reels to punishment. And when punishment becomes a focus, the debate doesn't just stay on players. It spills into the entire league. Once the receipts hit the timeline, fans didn't just want explanations, they wanted justice. The comment sections turned into courtrooms, and Bria Hartley was on trial without ever stepping in front of a microphone. Suspension talk came first. Her injury doesn't matter. One fan wrote, the league should suspend her anyway. Another pushed further, ban her for life. She's a thug. The language was raw, emotional, and impossible to ignore. For some, Hartley's reputation wasn't just about one smirk. It was about a culture of reckless play they believed the WNBA had been ignoring for years. And that's what made the outrage stick. This wasn't just Bria versus Sophie anymore. It was Bria versus the system. Every foul she committed became part of a larger accusation that the league was letting dangerous plays slide, that referees were inconsistent, and that the standards shifted depending on the jersey. Indiana Fever fans were the loudest. Not only are we getting assaulted, one rage, they're smiling about it. To them, this wasn't an isolated incident. It was a pattern of their players taking hits night after night without real protection. The punishment fans demanded wasn't just for Hartley, it was for the league itself. Calls for new referees, stricter enforcement, even complete restructuring of officiating boiled to the surface. As one commenter put it, the WNBA doesn't need hashtags, it needs a scrub down. And then, just when the temperature was at its highest, the story flipped. Because the one player at the center of the storm, the so-called villain, suddenly became the next headline for an entirely different reason. The timing was almost cinematic. Just as the internet was sharpening its pitchforks, a press release landed. Bria Hartley was out for the season. The reason? A torn meniscus suffered, not in a game, but in practice. At first, fans didn't believe it. You mean to tell me her own team took her out? One commenter laughed. That's funny as hell. Another didn't even try to hide the schadenfreude. Prayers answered. Karma came quick. Within minutes, instant karma was trending through comment sections, fueling the kind of narrative twist that feels too neat to be real. But not everyone was celebrating. Some called the announcement convenient. A few accused the team of using the injury as cover to avoid suspension talk. Smoke and mirrors, one fan posted. This doesn't pass the sniff test. Suddenly, the conversation split in two directions. Poetic justice on one side, conspiracy theories on the other. Here's the part that stung most. The injury didn't slow the outrage. If anything, it made it worse. To Hartley's critics, the meniscus tear wasn't punishment enough. Suspend her anyway, one argued. An injury doesn't erase dirty plays. And just like that, the storyline doubled. Karma and consequence. But the person at the center of it all, the one who actually took the hit, limped off the court, and sparked the firestorm, hadn't finished speaking. And when Sophie Cunningham broke her silence, the narrative swerved in a way nobody saw coming. When Sophie Cunningham finally addressed the storm, fans expected anger. They expected accusations, maybe even demands for the league to step in. Instead, Sophie stunned everyone with something far harder to process: forgiveness. She called Bria Hartley a friend. She said she didn't believe the play was intentional. And just like that, the victim refused to play the role fans had written for her. To many, it was a masterclass in grace. To others, it was proof she was being far too soft. Sophie is naive, one fan snapped. She'll learn. But Sophie didn't stop there. On her own platforms, she doubled down, clarifying that she wanted to focus on recovery, not revenge. Yet in the same week, she flipped the script with a forward clapback that showed her fire hadn't dimmed. F around and find out. Two sides of Sophie, one public, one private. Gracious competitor, unapologetic fighter. Fans noticed both. That's what made her response so fascinating. She didn't fuel the mob, but she didn't play weak either. In fact, her ability to walk both lines, kindness and toughness, only grew her fan base. We love you, Sophie. Come back stronger, flooded the comments. Others praised her maturity, saying she handled the mess with more composure than the league itself. But if Sophie's voice brought calm, it didn't erase the bigger problem. Because beneath the personal drama, a deeper question was still buzzing. If fans don't trust the officials to protect players, what happens to the league itself? For all the debates about Sophie and Bria, one truth kept echoing louder. This isn't just about two players. It's about the WNBA itself. Because every collision, every foul, every smirk gets magnified when fans already believe the system is broken. The word that came up again and again: inconsistency. Fans complained the rules felt like roulette. One night a hard foul is a flagrant. The next night it's ignored. The standard depends on the jersey, one viewer posted. And that means there's no standard at all. That lack of trust isn't just a referee problem. It's a league problem. Some argued the solution was simple: bring in NBA referees, or at least match their professionalism. Others wanted stricter punishments for repeat offenders, clearer replay reviews, and actual transparency instead of mysterious announcements that feel like black boxes. We don't need drama, one fan said. We need consistency. And that's the irony. The league is fighting to grow, to capture attention, to pull in new fans. But the very controversies that spark viral headlines are the same ones that convince people the product isn't fair. The WNBA wants passion, but it risks losing trust. That's why the Bria Hartley saga hit so hard. It wasn't just about her grin. It was about whether fans believe the league protects players, or whether they're just watching chaos disguised as competition. And while the league scrambled to manage perception, one team, the Indiana Fever, was quietly writing a very different story. A story not about villains and karma, but about resilience. While the league wrestled with outrage and headlines, the Indiana Fever had a choice to make. They could collapse under the weight of injuries and controversy, or they could turn into something stronger. And from the very next game, they made their answer clear. Kelsey Mitchell lit up the scoreboard like it was personal. Lexi Hull stepped into a leadership role, calming huddles and keeping teammates locked in. Aaliyah Boston kept pounding inside, refusing to let Indiana be defined as the wounded team everyone could push around. And then there was Caitlin Clark. Even while her own updates came day by day, her presence added a constant hum of anticipation. Every practice report sparking speculation about when she'd be back. The comments flipped almost overnight. We miss Sophie's energy, one fan wrote, but this team's heart is unreal. Another was bolder. Mark it down. The Fever are making the finals. Instead Instead of leaning into the victim role, Indiana became the problem nobody wanted to face. That's the thing about sports. Sometimes the loudest story isn't the scandal. It's the resilience. While the internet obsessed over Hartley's grin and injury, the Fever quietly stitched together a culture built on fight and unity. Fans could feel it. You don't build that kind of chemistry on a highlight reel. It comes from refusing to fold when everyone expects you to. And that resilience gave the saga its final layer. Because if Bria Hartley's smirk became the image of outrage, Sophie Cunningham's team became the embodiment of something much harder to kill: belief. But even with Indiana rewriting their own script, one question still loomed over everything. Was this saga really instant karma, or just bad luck wrapped in coincidence? So was it karma, or just coincidence dressed up like a headline? That's the question fans keep circling back to. One moment, Sophie Cunningham's down. The next, Bria Hartley's season is gone. It's almost too perfect to script, like a plot twist the basketball gods themselves designed. But maybe that's the danger of chasing neat storylines. Real life isn't always poetic. Injuries don't discriminate between heroes and villains. And yet, the narrative is impossible to ignore. The smirk, the backlash, the receipts, the outrage. And then, sudden silence for Hartley. For fans, it felt less like random chance and more like balance. Still, the bigger truth is this: the league can't build its future on coincidence and controversy. It can't keep letting officiating roulette dictate whether fans feel protected or betrayed. Without trust, every foul becomes a conspiracy, and every injury becomes a referendum. And that's a dangerous cycle for any sport that wants to grow. As for Sophie, her journey is just beginning. Rehab won't be glamorous. It's early mornings, repetition, and the grind of being sidelined. But she's already shown a mix of grace and grit that fans cling to. That's why her support only grew, even as she left the floor. Bria Hartley, she'll have to face the soundtrack that now follows her. Every road game, every whistle, every foul will be measured against this week. The only way forward is clean play, time, and humility. And the Fever? They turned the victim narrative upside down, proving they're more than headlines. They're a problem the whole league has to deal with. So maybe the Real story isn't karma at all. Maybe it's resilience. And resilience lasts longer than any viral screenshot.